You probably wouldn't purposefully put poison in your body or on your body or on someone you love's body, would you? Yet, we're surrounded by poison all the time. Poison are things that are toxic, right? That's essentially what toxic's all about for a human being. And toxic is from toxins. And there's various like categories of toxins, right? So it's something that is classically a toxin is an organic substance, and a toxicant is something that's man-made. But we'll just call it toxins in general because it's very, very important to understand your exposure to toxicity because that is a significant part of the health challenge that faces us in our lifetimes. Because we live in an incredibly and increasingly toxic world. So let me give you some understanding quickly, and you can research this on your own, but I'm making it simple for you here. Where toxins come from and how they affect you from a health perspective. First, industry and manufacturing. I think everybody's pretty aware of that. There's in the neighborhood of 100,000 chemicals in the environment. 100,000, roughly, right? And the issue with those chemicals is that they are considered safe to be released into the environment, but that's tested in isolation. Chemists are not toxicologists. It's not in their job description to worry about what happens when chemical A meets chemical B in your body, right? That's not their job. Their job is to test to see if that single chemical released into the environment will be safe. That's up for debate. But anyway, then you have agriculture. So you have pesticides and herbicides, clearly, not to mention runoff and waste and etc. But bottom line, pesticides and herbicides. Some studies say that there's 29 different pesticides in everybody's body right now. Those are poisons, basically. That's what they are. They're toxins and poison. So agriculture, clearly. Fossil fuels, clearly, right? That's all kinds of exhaust and pollution from that. Household and consumer products like cleaning agents, building materials, plastics, personal care products are typically loaded with toxic stuff. Medicines. The average American has 14 prescriptions a year. Those are toxins, right? I mean, there's a reason that when you have medicines in your house, you have to keep them out of reach of children. Why? Because it could kill them, right? Why? Because they're toxic, right? And too much of it is going to outdo you. That's, you don't have to keep the bread out of reach of a child. You don't even have to keep basic vitamins out of the reach of a child. They can take the whole bottle. It might feel like Superman that day, but... And then ultra-processed foods are loaded with toxins. There's 3,000 chemicals in the food supply. So why does that matter to you? Well, let's go back to my beginning statement. Would you purposely poison yourself? Probably not. Would you purposely poison someone you love? Probably not. But that's exactly what toxins do to your body, right? So some of the things that they do, first and foremost, they damage cells. I encourage you to read Casey Means' book, Good Energy. She does a wonderful job of describing exactly what happens here. When a toxin gets into a cell, the cell can't function anymore. And that's what you are. You're trillions of cells. That's me too. I'm just a bunch of cells talking to you, a bunch of cells. And when a cell cannot function, it sends out a distress signal and the body tries to go deal with it. That's an immune response, essentially, right? So that's the beginning of inflammation. So that is at the core of a substantial amount of health problems, is that particular thing taking place. And it's relatively avoidable once you understand it's a thing and it's happening in you all the time. It also affects the cells. Clearly, the cells, what's called the mitochondria, that's the furnace of your energy. So it wrecks that at the same time. So the damage to the cells actually leads to everything else that I'll mention. Oxidative stress, right, which is that free radical activity in your body that essentially ages you. We don't age, we oxidize to some degree. It keeps your enzymes from working, right? If you remember high school, you had the little Bunsen burner and you had to take chemical A and chemical B and put it into flame so it got hot enough to react. Right? Well, that's what enzymes do in your body. See, everything that happens in your body requires an enzyme. because your body is a bunch of chemical reactions. Now those chemicals are the natural substances, vitamins and minerals that your body uses to do everything. And essentially, without enzymes, they can't work and you can't work. So if you denature enzymes, you die, right? That's the way it is. It's why, when you get a fever that's too high for too long a period of time, you die. Well, because your enzymes don't work anymore. And so that means you don't work anymore. So toxins affect enzymes. And then they lead to genetic changes in cancer. Right? Chronic inflammation I don't even need to talk about, because you can tell that's what happens when you start and you become inflamed all over, and that's where your cells aren't working, and then you have all the cell damage, but then you also have organ system damage, right? Your kidneys, your nervous system, your endocrine system, your immune system, all that stuff gets wrecked. So all of that is what is taking place from a toxic perspective. And our bodies were designed to deal with natural toxicity, because there's toxicity all over the place, right? You can't eat a natural food without a tiny bit of certain toxins, right? That's the nature of the world. Arsenic is like something you don't want in high supply, but you have a hard time eating a tomato without having it in there, but you're designed to deal with that kind of stuff in the way your body works. But not like this, right? And so we're not going to spend time on the actual nutrition side that is important for this. Just that this is for awareness for you to understand that you are in an extremely toxic scenario and loaded with toxins. So cleansing your body daily is critical from a intake perspective, taking things in that cleanse your body. And then massively cleansing your body as part of resetting it is crucial for everybody to do a couple times a year at least, because you're going to have buildup. And if you don't address that, it's part of what leads to all kinds of health problems. So there's a little scoop on you for toxins. I hope this is helpful for you.